that sound means we are now live here on our YouTube channel, Tackle Trading's Halftime Report, our daily show where I bring the coaches in from Tackle Trading. We have a discussion about the markets one step at a time, looking at charts, looking at economic news, any kind of corporate news that's grabbing our attention, pretty much anything we want to talk about, break it down, analyze it, give you guys some insight so that you can run your daily routine with more information. Welcome out. Hashtag Team Tackle right in the chat. If you're one of my veterans coming on in, it always is great to get the energy coming up in the show. Like, subscribe, click the bell, be a part of this community. We're a growing community. And hopefully if you're here for the first time, you stay, you're going to love it. We know it. So let's get right down to business. Thursday, 1/14/2021. The markets have been interesting the last couple of days, just kind of playing that little, tag game there, Tyler, a little rotation back and forth, back and forth. Yesterday, tech had a better day. Today, small caps are having a better day. Everybody's getting a turn in the pool here. A lot of fun in the markets lately as things are kind of moving forward. We'll see if there's any risk out there. I'm going to get Mark's take and analysis on what's happening with infrastructure, rumors out of the Biden administration coming in, other things happening in the market from economics, and but mostly we're going to break down the technicals here today. Let's bring the coaches in one at a time. Tyler, you're running the screen. You first. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Tim. It's a small cap world, and we're living in it, my friend.
It's true. I mean, the small caps today are absolutely. And in fact, why don't we start with the Russell 2000 chart? We'll come back to the S&P 500, and we'll analyze this one first. I want to get you to take just a minute, but pleasantries first. Nothing wrong with taking 30 seconds out of your morning and making sure everybody's doing great. Emily, how are you doing out there?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on again.
Yeah, it's always great to have you coming on.
I got a stat for you. Before we get into small caps, you know what group of stocks are up the most this year, percentage wise?
From the indexes, sectors, industries?
Just categories.
The category stocks up the most this year.
Stocks under $2. You know what group is up the second most? Stocks under $5. You know what group is up third most? Stocks up for $10. You know what groups are up the least? Stocks over $100. It is a perfect linear graph. The cheaper you are, the better you've been doing this year. The more expensive you are, relatively, all things being equal, the worse you're doing. Now everything's up, but there is a feeding frenzy.
That's not a sign of speculation at all.
No, it's not at all.
Nope. You're taking my nerd verbiage. You're supposed to push glasses up and say linear regression according to my calculations.
Cody, we leave those for you, buddy. Those gems are all yours, my friend, and we appreciate it when you come in with those nerd verbiages. I think that's what you said. I like that phrase, Emily. Nerd verbiage.
Verbiage, yep.
I've never heard that before. But Mark, that is an interesting stat, and obviously we're starting with the small caps here. Let's take a look. Tyler, tell me, what are you seeing, and what do you attribute the strength in small caps to as well?
We talked yesterday. You said it in the lead-in. We've been in this market where leapfrogging, follow the leader. Isn't it interesting? Yesterday we talked about tech leading and small caps taking a breather, and today small caps take over, and they're putting tech to shame, right? I mean, tech was up maybe 0.5% yesterday, and small caps are like, get out of here. We'll show you how it's done. They're up 2% plus. That's pretty darn impressive. Look, small caps have been leading forever. And so I don't know what more you have to see to get on the bandwagon that this is the leading space in the market. In terms of why, if you look at the sector makeup of small caps, energy and financials are two big parts of it. And you're just seeing a lot of money rotate into energy and financials right now. The reason they sucked earlier in the year is because energy and financials were lagging. And now they're not. And today is impressive. I mean, this is like an exclamation point on everything we've been seeing. When you look at the sector performance, which is a good way of seeing why and who is up, you've got oil services up another 4%. You've got retail up. You've got even emerging market, regional banks are ripping. But you look at which sectors are leading, that usually tells you the narrative behind why a particular area is ripping. And I think it's interesting that they're just completely cooling off on the big cap tech, and these guys are playing catch up. One thing just real quick, Tim, I looked at this with a student earlier today. When you look percentage wise, the NASDAQ, if you look at where the NASDAQ is compared to the February peak, remember that tech stocks just went crazy after the pandemic. And I think, off the top of my head, it's like 34%. The NASDAQ is 34% higher than where it was in the February peak. So just has been far and away a leader for the last 6, 8, 9 months. If you look at IWM, comparatively, it's only like 25% above the February high. So it's effectively playing catch up to all the things that you've been seeing in tech. And so by that measure, it's actually not up as much as tech is, relative to where it was in February. So you could just say rotation, catch up. They're coming after these areas that haven't participated as much. And it's a stampede that just continues day after day.
Mark, and I think there's actually a really good point right there. Obviously, small caps did not perform as well in the middle of last year during a lot of the runs. It was big cap tech, providing the leadership. Now, small caps are providing the leadership in the last basically 6 weeks since the election. They've been on, or 2 months since the election. They've been a juggernaut here. Mark, do you think this can continue? I mean, do you think small caps can continue to lead the charge? And do you have them as 1A and the rest of the indexes as 2, 3, and 4?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is until a trend breaks, I mean, this is technical analysis 101. Until a trend breaks, you don't guess that it will. And momentum momentum has always been a real concept in trading, right? In fact, people build entire trading systems around them. It's something that was real 15 years ago, will be real 15 years from now. But man, momentum in the last 10 months, when momentum gets going, don't try to get out of the way of that. I mean, at all. I mean, it is a runaway freight train when momentum gets going. So, when you get those good entries, like a breakout, like you had 6 sessions or 7 sessions ago, you hit those in 2021, you hit those in 2020, and until something stops working, you hit it. Now, when things get overextended, you don't chase. Those are the rules. You don't go and buy today because it's a terrible signal today. But when things set up, take a little bit of breather, i.e. FCX a few weeks ago, right? When things take a little bit of breather and then they break, then you run. Now, once again, FCX, good entry today? No. FCX, stellar entry 2 weeks ago? Yes. And so, it's just finding those entries, waiting for the proper setup. All of the things that we teach our traders to do at Tackle Trading.
Looking across the broad indexes, by the way, small caps are leading, but it's not like the other ones aren't still in uptrends and healthy. Let's take a look at all of them real quick here, Ty, if you can. Just tell me what you're seeing. I see a potential breakout on the SPY, by the way, but tell me what you're seeing.
No, I agree. I think I would just echo our comments from yesterday. SPY, it's interesting. This is a reason why you can't just look at one index. If you look at the S&P, you'd say, traders, they're just taking the week off. They're not doing anything. It's like, au contraire, mon frere, go look at your liquid stock list. I mean, how many stocks are above 5% gains today? It's just ridiculous. And the S&P is completely just masking that. So the good thing is it's not doing anything wrong. It's not breaking the 9 EMA. It's just hanging out, and it's bullish, Tim. I mean, yes, it's a breakout. So the silver lining of going sideways for a week or so is it digests gains. Sets up lower risk entries if you finally get a breakout. It will be interesting to see. I mean, will they break out? Will you get some momentum coming back to large caps? Is this going to continue to be the IWM show? I don't know, but so far it has not paid to bet against these consolidations resolving themselves in the direction of the overall trend, which is up. Today's a nothing to see in terms of the candlestick. We're just still in this 5-day consolidation. The story is going to be when you take out the high. And maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe there's some front running in small caps. Maybe the market will like what the Biden administration has to say with its stimulus stuff. But it's nothing to see today on the chart with SPY.
And Mark, let's talk about that a little bit.
I think something Tyler said there was very smart, like he's prone to do, right? Tyler says smart things. The price action today does not even begin to reflect how strong the underbelly of the market is, how strong different areas of the market are. I mean, your materials. I mean, I'm looking at different things. Those rotational things that we talked a lot about on Wednesday. material companies, oil companies. We got some big gains, and I mean, and those aren't underbelly; those are just traditional sectors. But just it is a frothy bull market. It's not reflected in the major indexes, but you look elsewhere, all of those speculative things is pretty crazy out there right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. By the way, Tyler, you did mention the Biden administration, incoming administration, proposing some kind of stimulus bill. We are going to get some of those details today from what I've been, told by little Tweety birds and whatnot. People tell me looks like he's going to have a presser, start going into some of the detail. Mark, from what I'm reading, the numbers are, all over the place, anywhere from $2 trillion to $3 trillion in the proposal. Looks like they're going to, be proposing $2,000 checks again, boost to direct payments, unemployment benefits, funding for vaccine distribution, reopening schools, tax credits, you name it. Let's just deal with the number first. A lot of those things, the details in there sound like fiscal policy, not necessarily infrastructure, which is what we've kind of been hinting at, or people have been talking about to be included in the bill. We don't know the details yet, and so I don't want to start speculating too much. We'll have more information today, and we can analyze it more in detail tomorrow. But Mark, what's your read on this situation with the new kind of rumors around infrastructure and stimulus?
Listen, Matt, I'm sure we'll have a lot to say about this in coming day from a macro standpoint. Listen, my take on it is really, really simple, and it's going to sound glib and dismissive, but it's really simple. I'm just grateful that I'm going to have endless stimulus negotiations going well, headlines coming up. And once again, that sounds like a sarcastic little snotty thing, but algorithms and that upward movement are run so much on headlines, right? And as this bill is discussed with Republicans and it is going to create a lot of headlines. And we've seen that effect. I mean, you don't have to go very far back in time. We've seen this effect for months now, back in the previous. These headlines can generate positive intraday momentum, which can then occasionally lead to breakouts. If you have a dip, they can lead to and so we're going to have an endless string of headlines coming up. And some of them are going to be down, which create little volatility. Some of them are going to be up. And I love that because we've seen this in the trade war. The trade war, for the little stretches it caused the market to go down, it sent the market continually up on a string of headlines that said, hey, things going better on the trade war. We've seen that with stimulus. And so the algos are going to have a feeding frenzy on headlines in the coming months on this. That's the world we live in too. You can fundamental analysis, algorithmic headlines drive the price action quite a bit.
Absolutely, they do, and obviously, we're expecting some of that to start to become a part of the market over the next couple of weeks. But you know what else the algorithms are going to start paying attention to are earnings report details. I think that's going to be a theme that the market starts paying attention to, as well as we start moving away from topics that don't necessarily relate to the market towards focusing on actual data and numbers. We got earnings coming in. There was a few today here. We're going to look at later in the show. So a couple themes that could be a part of our conversation, pretty consistent over the next couple weeks to months. Emily, before we get into commodities in here, I want to bring you in for just a second here and just kind of get your general take. Small caps are pretty healthy. The rest of the markets are still, very much in uptrends. How are you approaching these conditions right now?
Well, Mark and I talked about this on Tuesday. This is the environment that cash flow traders absolutely love, when the market is doing absolutely nothing and you're just cash flowing. So pretty much my day is I have trade setups, and if they trigger, they trigger. If they don't, they don't. And I go on about my day. I've already prepped my work for the week. And if nothing's happening, then nothing's happening. I'm not going to try to force myself into anything if there's nothing that's there. So this is just a great environment for just cash flow trading. It sounds boring, but that's kind of like what we like.
Cody, are you there, Cody? Cody.
I am. I was in the
Cody,
background
what kind of paradise is it?
What's that?
It's a cash flow paradise. Come on, you missed the cue.
Oh,
Come on.
I did miss the cue.
He had it all teed up and missed it.
I was completely in the background doing other things, so I apologize.
It's a cash flow paradise.
It is cash flow paradise. Hashtag cash flow paradise.
And there are strong directional movement. You've seen it in the areas of the rotation trade, right? Energy's been going good lately. Obviously materials on fire over the last few weeks. So there's good directional opportunities. But man, this cash flow environment is literally just rock star status.
Been really good, really healthy for cash flow trading. You have implied volatility levels that have stayed really high. Actually, if you look at it historically, the markets have stayed very bullish. I mean, we're at all-time highs, and what's the VIX at?
21-ish, 22-ish.
I mean, is 20 on the VIX the new 10? Yeah,
No, seriously.
I'm talking 15 years of my career here, Tyler. I've not seen markets continue to hit all-time highs and VIX stay above 20. So
no, and that's the thing is like those spikes of volatility that you get like pre-election when it hit up there after the technical sell-off in August. I mean, those are nice, but man, a consistent VIX above 20 for cash flow traders.
It does make you wonder if that, if that means that there's just consistent hedging and there's not complete buy-in to this, even though the market's ridiculously bullish. I don't know what else would cause this to be just persistently inflated, other than people willing to overpay for insurance right now.
I don't even know if it's necessarily insurance. I think it might also be a lot of rampant speculation. Just people continue to buy out of the money options that keeps elevated levels on these prices. Tyler,
Could be.
Over the last couple of months, I've seen a couple of reports that out of the money call buying is at some of the highest levels in the history of call option market. So it's like some segments of the market are still aggressively playing these long delta options, even though it's a great cash flow market. Now, what do we know over the course of 20, 30 years of historical data? That strategy at high VIX levels isn't necessarily effective, right? We know that as option sellers. So, it's got to give you a little bit of caution that there's still that speculation in the market. It might be hedging. I don't know. I don't have an exact answer to it, Tyler, but I think it's a good question as to what is actually happening here. We'll find out if we can get through this earnings season and the markets are still stable. I expect that VIX to come down some, quite frankly, but we will see. Let's go through commodities here next, if we can. Crude oil is a pretty quick read. Gold's a pretty quick read. The dollar's a pretty quick read, and Bitcoin is not. So let's take a look at them one at a time here, Tyler. And just, Mark, if you've got any news or analysis on any of these commodities, go ahead and jump in here. But Ty, give me the technical read if you can.
They can't even get 2 down days in crude oil back to back, right? Bears, you get 1 down day and you can consider yourself lucky. You got a red bar yesterday, so you get a green bar today. We mentioned that crude had gone up a lot. Same thing with energy stocks. Deserve it of a pause or a pullback, and all you got was 1.5 down days and then right back up. This is healthy. Any congestion in here, any kind of basing or pausing above the 9 EMA is par for the course. It's what crude oil has been doing since November. And I see no reason to be concerned over the trend. No warning signs. Looks healthy to me. Just consolidation after a nice run. And energy stocks are ripping again today. So energy as a sector looks even better than crude oil right now. But all in all, this is constructive, Tim. More the same for me on crude oil.
Mm-hmm. Mark, anything you want to add to that? I don't see anything there besides just
like I said, I like, go pick your Apache, go pick your whatever. I really like, from a cash flow perspective, those selling naked puts back into the old range, short-term range. Don't go crazy, right? But that goes with everything. But, give you a little bit of cash flow oil exposure, something easy to manage. I think there is in those energy stocks, there's room to run. There's room to run.
Next one here, gold. Obviously, the last couple of days, this entire week has been the question around, are we going to hold the 200-day moving average? And, in the short term, obviously we are. Gold's trying to play defense down here in this zone here. Tyler, what are you watching for technically here?
I think you nailed it with the 200 MA. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about maybe considering GLD or GC more as a just choppy range bound. And if my premise is, I think this is going to be in a range, I don't read as much into the day-to-day chop, or, I don't look as much for trending patterns or trend continuation patterns. So I think this is just trying to find its footing after getting smacked on that big red bar. It's certainly short-term bearish if this takes out call it 1825. We take out the low of the last 5 bars. That is concerning in the short run. And really, you got room down to about 1770 if it takes that out. That's like $50 of downside. So if you're a bull, you don't want to see it take out that 18, 20, 25 level. If it does, I think you got to remain cautious. But this overall for me, Tim, looks neutral. So
Yeah, I've got it neutral in the short term, waiting to see how these battles are going to play out. Until they play out, I've got a side on it long term, and I'm not coming off that side long term, no matter about it. But until they play out, we've got to watch these short term price actions as they're moving back and forth. Queen, anything you got for that one? Any gold?
No, gold is just cash flow. I mean, I'm going to keep repeating myself, but gold is just another cash flow strategy. But going back to oil, shout out to Coach Greg, because he did bring up Apache on Tuesday's halftime report. So if you go look up APA, even though I kicked his butt yesterday on the Trade Masters, I did steal this one from him on Tuesday, and real good profits on that one.
Mark, Emily has to applaud her own self for winning that. I didn't, I expected some fanfare here coming in. Marky's like, Emily, you won the title. You took it from Coach Greg, and now she's got to pat her own self on the back. I hear it. All right, Emily, we let you down here. That's all right. I didn't know you won, by the way.
I mean, I can't even say anything. We did.
Yeah. So was it a fun competition, Emily? I haven't seen the replay yet.
Oh, it was not fun at all. I was coming to take the ring back. I called Tyler to get me some dad jokes. I mean, I spent more time looking for dad jokes than I did actually finding setups. But I impressed Mark, and he liked some of my setups and loved the dad jokes. So I think I won on both sides. Yes.
Congratulations, Emily. I'm going to have to watch that replay. Those are always really, really fun events. And, generally I get a chance to watch them on Thursdays after our show here. So I'm going to go take a look at it, and great job on that. All right, let's keep moving on. Dollar next, if we can here, Tyler and Marky. Really simple question for you.
Why are you asking? You're such a dick. I'm getting up to leave, and you're and
no snack time. It's a simple one.
Like, no, screw you. I can do what I want.
All right.
I can answer your question as I walk away.
Well, I'll tell you, the only thing that it has my mind in terms of currency analysis is this unemployment report this morning. Obviously,
it was terrible.
Anytime you have economic data, it can move the currency markets, and it was terrible, Mark. Initial claims spiked 181,000
No, I mean, seriously,
from last
when I see
week.
the jobless claims, not because once again, economic reports don't matter to this market at all. But man, when I see a jobless claim that big, I mean that's real life people out there hurting, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's real life people losing their jobs, and the numbers are staggering, right? Like to be this far into COVID-19 and to have those kind of 2008, 2009 jobless numbers, that if today's jobless report would have happened in 2008 or 2009, it would have sent the market down 2%. Because I mean, I studied it, and they did when those jobless claim numbers came out in 2000. Market doesn't care about this day because we live in a world of supposed helicopter money and endless stimulus. But the dollar's reaction to it, I think, is very. I mean, the only way you get out of that kind of jobless claim is through spending money, is through loose monetary policy. And the algos, I think, are dead on this one. So. Look for a retesting of the lows. See if Cody disagrees with me.
Bad news is good news for stocks. Sometimes, Tyler, that's the historical narrative. You get bad economic data. It makes the, policymakers want to spend money to try to fix it. And so it's kind of how the market's taken in the short term, but it is a sobering reminder that the jobs market is still really, really bad out there.
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, hey, maybe it'll be 3 to 4 trillion. Right, that was a really bad number.
Pick up an extra trillion, if the jobs numbers get that bad. Sure, is 3 trillion the skinny bill, Cody? Is that a skinny?
That's what I was saying. That might be the skinny bill. I mean, depending on how we're going to label this. But I like how Mark threw that out there, saying Cody's going to disagree, and then he walked away. He wanted me to filibuster for him.
Well,
I'm not going to do it.
I've got a filibuster moment for Mark because I'm going to bring you in on the next one. Let's move into Stock Talk, by the way, next, where we break down corporate events or news or anything that's happening out there across different companies. And actually, no, I cannot miss it. I almost forgot, Tyler. Bitcoin before Stock Talk. How in the world? This has been on my mind every day for a long time here, Emily. It's been volatile and crazy. This thing got bought up like a rocket ship over the last, 3 sessions here, Tyler. Very healthy price appreciation. You had the one red candle, which actually is 3 red candles on a Bitcoin chart. These futures charts don't always show the weekend candles. It's a pet peeve of mine, Emily. I know. I keep reminding everybody that, but it was a 3 bar down into the 9 EMA. Now we're back up. Tyler, what do you even do with this? I mean, that's a healthy candle, healthy chart, momentum increasing, but it's also wild and out of this world. So how do you interpret the chart at least?
Yeah, I mean, I would point you back to yesterday's conversation. You know, when we had the halftime report yesterday, the candle was like a little hammer candle right around maybe 35, call it 35,500. And the comment was, if you were waiting for a big dip, you probably wanted this to pull back further. If you're already in a bull, this is very constructive and you're happy about it. Relatively shallow pullback. My take was, you know, if I want Bitcoin, I'd probably go half and half here. If you don't want to miss out on the next advance, you take it over the bar high, which it obviously triggered yesterday. At this point, it's like, come on, man. If you didn't buy the dip, now you want to chase it up at 40,000. That's tough. That's tough. I don't think this is a tradable setup until it bases and gives you a breakout. But you should have taken the dip. Look, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. As we said, I think microcycle was the phrase we used. You had just this mini crash and then right back up in a week. Look, I mean, back in the day, cycles used to take more than a week. Now, in this day and age, they're just overnight stuff. So
let me
the
do
good
some
thing
quick
is
math in my head. Hold on. Now you
Sure.
got me thinking. 42,000 to 31,000 is 11,000 down. That's more than 25%, right?
I need a calculator, Tim. You're the one doing it in your head. I don't know.
Okay, 11,000 off of 40 is, yeah, I think it's 27%, something like that. Yep, 26%.
Wow, look at he's a freaking math whiz. Go ahead, Tim. Give us another one. Give us another one, Tim.
So now back up 31,000, back up to 40,000 now. That's 9,000 off of 31. Now you got a 30% increase, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you literally have gone from bear market to bull market in 5 days. From bull market to bear market to bull market. If you just did percentages, this dude is operating with different rules. I don't think we can use old stock market rules.
And never broke Mark's girlfriend and still held above the 9. Isn't that crazy?
know, Coach Emily and I said this yesterday on the lounge whenever we were analyzing Bitcoin. Is I talked about how a week ago you were like, Cody, give me a technical analysis. I'm like, this is parabolic. There's no technical analysis. But yesterday I was like, now there's technical analysis. Now we have a proper retracement within the bounds that are happening. That's easy to see and trigger into. And we talked about that yesterday. And now, of course, it's fulfilling that easy, recognizable bearish or bullish retracement, excuse me. And we're moving up to it. So simple to see. We finally have a technical pattern on Bitcoin again.
Well, go down to a 30-minute chart if you can. I would actually disagree that there was not technical analysis. I do agree with you, Cody, that it's now
A
improved
week
in a
ago,
healthy
you think
manner.
there was technical analysis?
Oh, I think there's always been technicals on Bitcoin. If you look at this, it was just a blow off top that was coming into a correction, but then watch the pivot form on the bottoms down there. You know, literally through the pivots, you saw day traders battling this out for a couple of days. Now on the daily candlestick charts, people aren't paying attention to Bitcoin. It's like, okay, where's the chart? But then yesterday, Cody and Tyler, look at that breakout at like 35,000.
And that was a clean, easy technical trade.
And then the breakout of 37,000. And now we've got higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. The hard thing with Bitcoin is that the different time frames, man, I mean, you got to know who you are in this product. You know, you can't waffle between short-term and long-term analysis and then just get all muddy in your head, because it's the Wild West right now, Mark. It's so crazy about how fast it's moving. But I do think if day traders wanted to get involved, there are charts and technical analysis in there. Now, I'm not approaching that way, Cody, because it's just too wild. You know, that's not my approach to Bitcoin. I take it from more of a longer-term perspective as something I hold as a hedge. And for the purposes I do, as also speculation. But Marky, anything you want to add to this Bitcoin conversation? It's been wild the last couple of weeks.
Listen, I don't know, man, right? Everything is fast these days. It's fast. And, you know, an experienced trader can play a fast market. We're getting really, really used to playing a fast market. Man, it is tough for a new trader to play a fast market, though.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. You gotta know the
Tim,
product.
I'll mention two things real quick.
Mm-hmm.
One nice thing, remember, you didn't really have many reference points for the last month in Bitcoin because it was going straight up.
Mm-hmm.
One of the nice things about this is you do now have a higher pivot low that you can use to define trend. If we were to roll over and now break this pivot low, then you can start to have a more substantial discussion about, you know, how the trend potentially is turning. So to the extent that you got a higher pivot low, a new threshold, a new line in the sand to use, I think that's going to be helpful for analyzing this moving forward.
Mm-hmm. The battle for this trend is not done
You
yet,
know,
though.
and
There's no
a
doubt.
lot of people, on Bitcoin have been, aside from the institutional, there's a second theme that's been coming with Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is this new inflationary protection mechanism or whatever, right? Now, whether you buy into that or not, it is a secondary theme that, when I was reading around everything, people, like Bitcoin up because jobless claims, inflation's coming, blah, blah, blah. Like once again, in a bull market, in a bull whatever, everything that people can use to justify higher prices, they do. But of course, Powell just barely said just now, Jay Powell, the leader of One Crew, that inflation may pick up as economy recovers, but he doubts it's going to be long lasting.
Oh, that's
So-
cute. I know he's speaking right now to Princeton University virtually. I haven't
And he
seen
just
any of
said
the
that,
headlines
and he
coming in.
just said that in his, but this is the power of One Crew, is that they, it is the whole Bernanke. There's nothing to see here.
Right.
No housing bubble. It's like, many of these, that comment is not going to age well.
I don't think it will either. That is pretty crazy to me. Listen, I'm sure we're going to get an epic rant tomorrow from Coach Matt about a lot of things. One of them might be Jay Powell. In fact, we could take betting odds right now. What's Matt going to rant about more? The infrastructure proposal, Jay Powell's testimony, or just the silliness of the market? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I'm guessing infrastructure, but it depends on
gonna
what
go
Jay Powell
infrastructure.
says today. If Jay Powell has any too many more quotes about inflation, it might go the other direction there, Emily. I don't know. We'll have to set the line after I read Jay Powell's
I think
presser.
he's going
I
to
think he's
hedge
gonna
it when
go.
he says it, and he's going to say, Jay Powell has been saying the same thing forever. I've dogged him enough times. I want to talk about the problems with the infrastructure package. I think he's going to hedge it when he says it in close to that vernacular.
One way or the other, we're going to find out. All right, let's move into stock talk here, and let's start talking about some of these companies that are grabbing my attention in the news. Cody, I did promise you I was going to bring you in first because I got a quick one I want to ask you a question about. I don't know if you saw this Johnson and Johnson news today. Did you get a chance to
I
see
have
that?
not. I've actually been on what I'm calling a media diet, Frank style media diet.
Frank style media diet. Well, this one's interesting around COVID vaccine because they're actually in a phase 1-2 data trial for a candidate that actually only is going to require one single dose of the COVID vaccine that provides immunity for like 71 days. The market's loving this concept, of short-term immunity and all that kind of stuff. I don't know anything about it. Can you look into this maybe?
I could look into that, but I could speak to it just from a scientific perspective. That's the same thing as just getting the first dose of what they have now.
Mm-hmm.
Because that has to do with the IgM and IgG response of the body. That IgG response, which is the secondary immune response, does start coming even with one dose, but then it starts to fade off. So there's basically saying if you just get one dose, you'll have 71 days, which does make sense because it starts to fade off. This sounds like they're repackaging the same product with a different name and selling it to the market.
Maybe.
So without even looking into the news, that's what it sounds like.
Well, maybe what I want you to look into, because I rely on you for my COVID vaccine updates, right, and news and analysis. Look into why Johnson & Johnson is positioning this separately, because this isn't the Pfizer vaccine. This isn't the other vaccines, BioNTech's and all that. It isn't, AstraZeneca. This is a different one they're working on specifically for this target market.
J&J has been working on the similar vaccines to, what Pfizer, what Moderna, what AstraZeneca did. So I think J&J, because they haven't shown their secondary analysis on the additional dose, I think they're looking to get into the market quickly by just saying, hey, we have the first dose that'll give you 71 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's what and again, I will look this up, but that's just from the scientific standpoint of what I'm hearing based on the immune response on how vaccines work. It sounds like J&J is using this as a quick way to get into the market while their competitors are already in the market, is that they can get a little bit of exposure by saying, hey, we can get you a quick dose that'll last 71 days. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can. It's true and it's simple, but I will look into this and I'll talk on it tomorrow.
Makes good sense to me, and I appreciate that, young man. The next thing I want to go into are some earnings reports.
Hey,
Yep, go ahead, Ty.
Can I just mention Cody missed an opportunity to dunk on us here. When we did Trade Masters,
I saw it, and I decided to pass it up, Tyler.
You alley-ooped it. I got it. When we did Trade Masters, Cody J&J was one of his picks like 3 weeks ago. Breakout to all-time highs. So he's playing like he doesn't know this virus stuff, what J&J is doing. Homeboy probably had inside information and knew this ahead of time. I know how you work, Cody. I know how you work.
So I
Pretty-
actually did, not only did I take the trade with when I called it of the, multi-month consolidation break,
Mhm.
I also added to it with yesterday's candle.
What a pro,
So
friends. We're just happy Cody's
Mhm.
gracing us with
Well
his presence here
played, Cody,
today.
well played.
It's a breakout
done.
pullback. That's my favorite pattern. So we had the breakout that I did call 2 weeks ago, and then we get a breakout pullback. Even more beautiful. Come on. How if you
Hey,
can't buy on a breakout pullback with a hammer
I
candle?
already dunked. Move on.
Yeah,
That's enough.
Now you're just stomping on Tyler's grave here. We don't need to do that. But
Well, Tyler already lost to Greg, and then Greg lost to Emily. So Emily's got the crown right now. So Tyler's crown is done.
so now you're going to go after the crown. Are you calling out the queen right now? Is that? Am I
Hey,
going to see you
let's
next
go.
week on
Next
Trade
Wednesday.
Masters?
I
Is
think he
that-
just did.
I think he
It
threw
might
the
be
gauntlet down.
it might be possible. I'll have to check my schedule, but it might be possible.
All right. Obviously, that is Mark's final call. He's the host. Maybe you're not worthy to challenge the crown here. I don't know. We'll let Mark make that decision. But let's talk earnings here a little bit here, guys. First, let's go through a couple of big names here. BlackRock Financial, BLK, if we can. The finance sector is one I've been obviously very interested in. The coaches at Tackle Trading have had a strong ranking on finance for some time. BlackRock's one of the biggest ones. The stock, obviously, they surged to 8.68 trillion, I believe, in assets under management. One of the parts of the report, they reported a quarterly profit of $10.18 per share, beating the consensus estimate of 9.14 per share that they were expecting. So they did come out and beat top line, but here we are. BlackRock actually gapped down on the news here. Mark, what's your reaction on this BLK, report as well as the price response?
And we're going to get an attitude of the market, right? I not to go all conspiracy theory on you, but we've seen it before. We saw it with Microsoft, a couple earning reports where the market wanted to sell earnings, where they wanted to sell earnings, And once again, one data point does not a trend make, but that's what is curious to me, right? Is in a frothy market on the algo side, that can get blown up real quick by an earnings report in the after hours market. So once again, it's going to be very interesting to see the trend in how price responds to earnings reports, because the financial reports are going to come out. They're going to be really, really solid. Does the market want to buy this up even more or not? I think that's going to be very, very interesting. To me, that's the most fascinating thing about the coming earnings.
4% down at the 9 EMA is still within the market maker expectation, Tyler. I mean, when you're already range up and parabolic, even on a financial, BLK has gone from 600 to 788 just in the last, 3-4 months,
Yeah.
and they had a wonderful last quarter. This wasn't any kind of technical point anybody wanted to come into long. So maybe just a little profit taking. They did beat the top line number. I mean, how do you react to this when you see pretty good numbers, right? But the market takes profit on it?
Well, I think a couple of things. On a side note, this is a good example of earnings growth. I mean, look at this. $6.60, $7.85, $9.22, $10.18. If you couple fundamental analysis into your stock picking, that's like exactly what you want to see, right? Quarter over quarter, this company is just making more and more money. No wonder its stock price has done well along that 4-quarter stretch. Look, I mean, this thing more than doubled off the lows. And to your point, I mean, look how much it ran into earnings. It would be different if this had earnings a week ago, right? Where it had based for 6 weeks, it had earnings and gapped down. This ran up $100, in the week before earnings. So I don't fault this at all for having a little bit of profit taking. You can't be mad. Look, it's back to where it was 4 days ago. Crimea River. Long-term uptrend still looks good. Eventually this could be a buying opportunity. Maybe you wanted this dip, but the run up into it leads me to believe you kind of had a buy the rumor, sell the news type response here.
It would still be on a bullish watch list for me. There's no doubt about it. One of the leaders in finance, in my opinion, pretty much everybody's opinion, quite frankly. And they've had a fantastic year on earnings growth, just like you're talking about, Ty. Stretched, obviously, needs some rest, and we'll have to just let that one play itself out. Sometimes,
Yeah.
Emily, these just gap down, then they consolidate for a while, they form a new technical pattern. Then we're 3 weeks later, and we're like, okay, now I
Here
see
we go
something
again.
that's actionable. Yep.
Yep.
And that's a lot of times how earnings work, in that regard. The next one here I want to get into is Taiwan Semiconductor, TSM, one of the juggernauts in the entire market, quite frankly. It's had such an incredible run in the last year. Semiconductors have been hot. Some people would argue this is the strongest semiconductor, out there. Others might take an AMAT or something like that, depending on the exact nature of it. But TSM has definitely been very, very bullish. And here they are reporting earnings last night. Earnings rose 32% year over year. Okay. They posted at 97 cents, which beat the estimate of 94 cents. Revenue rose by 22% year over year. They missed their estimate a little bit here, but TSM is actually looking great. They're announcing a $25 to $28 billion capital budget for their 2021. They're looking at more manufacturers, relationships. People really responded to the conference call. It's just bullish here. Tyler, what do you do with the chart? And then Mark, any analysis, I'll bring you in second. But what do we do with this? That's a breakout up here right after the first day of earnings.
I mean, here's what you don't do, Tim. You don't sell this ahead of earnings. I mean, you knew this thing was going to rip, right? I mean, you just knew it. So I just feel bad for anybody who unloaded this yesterday. I gotta be honest. I say that because one of us coaches might have unloaded this thing yesterday.
I took profit. Yes, I did. I took profit on TSM. I actually think I did it 2 days ago, but I unloaded
I'm
it.
just
In
messing.
front
You
of the
wouldn't know.
earnings.
Look, it was up a ton. It was up a ton. Well done. What do you do with the candle, though? I mean, look, it's up 10%. So from a trading perspective, it's certainly a tough entry if you're not already in. You maybe could have taken this when it broke the pivot. At this point, you're kind of waiting for the next setup. I mean, that's what it is. This basically reinforced the strong fundamental story, gave you a reason why it's been going up so much, and could be a gift that keeps on giving. I mean, if this is how the market feels about Taiwan Semiconductor, there's no reason to fight the trend. I think it just makes you that much more interested to buy the next breakout or buy the next pullback. So I keep it on the radar and I say, come to Papa. I mean, give me a dip or give me a pause. But this big of a candle up 10%, nothing to do.
Mark, anything you want to add on TSM?
No, I mean, just wait for a setup. Obviously, the company is one of the strongest in the markets right now. It's just when you have these like market darlings during their stretches, just wait for setups. Wait for setups. Maybe you get a pullback to the old breakout point. Maybe you get a pullback to a rising moving average. Maybe you get a consolidation. It is the individuals that are patient and wait for setups. And sometimes those trade setups happen fast. Breakouts have been very good on TSM. I don't think that's going to change. Just wait for a breakout signal or wait for a good pullback signal.
And last one on earnings I want to talk about here is Delta Airlines, DAL, if we can. Couple of things that they did announce. Number one, we knew they were going to lose money. They've been losing money for a long time. In fact, they had the first losing year as a company, I believe, in 11 years since the financial markets crisis in 2009, right after that. DAL, though, they did report a loss of 2.53 per share, which was a little bit more than the 250 anticipated. The stock is actually up. They announced that their daily cash burn rate, these airlines have been under distress, under trouble. We know it. It got cut in half in the last quarter. So they found some way to cut the cash burn down. They're anticipating the reopening of the economy. They believe 2021 is the year of the recovery, is what CEO Ed Bastian's starting to talk about with this company. A lot of speculation around airlines, but you got to like the price response. Earnings literally did not have any negative impact on this one in that regard. They had a huge loss, but people look into the future here. Mark, do you agree with their CEO and the optimism around this? Look into the future. They're trying to find the silver lining. What do you think here, Mark?
I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I'll believe that airlines are, have some directional play, when I see something, some breakout that has this sustainability. I continue to like, if you want to play airlines, you want to play the conservative, selling naked puts down in the old range, the old breakout point. I think that's a nice way to play airlines right now. It's worked for a long time. I like sticking with things that work, right? Whether it's breakouts on Taiwan or selling naked puts on airlines at lower levels, stick with what works. That generally is a good advice in the world of trading.
I agree. The trend is your friend, including in systems and market conditions and all those types of things, no doubt about it. And then Coach Emily, I don't know if you heard this, but there were a couple of IPOs today, that people are at least chattering about and talking about. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I heard, especially one that I was actually surprised it hadn't, that it's just now IPOing. I thought it already had before, but yeah. Petco, I think you have on that.
I go to Petco all the time. I got to tell you, woof, let's bring it up. I had no idea people were just, stammering and knocking down the door to buy Petco stock, but apparently any IPO these days is grabbing some attention. Mark, this is being priced
I
significantly
do love your
above their
ticker symbol. It
IPO
is
range.
very catchy.
Everybody's got to have a catchy take, don't they? They got to have the catchy ticker symbols, the frog, the snow, the woof. I mean, it is now the theme in markets these days. Yeah, I get it. Because your symbol is a marketing mechanism for, an entire generation. They want you to get excited about it, Emily. But here we are, Mark. How are you reading this? The other one was, and I don't even know this company, Posh. Does anybody know what Poshmark, Posh? First day of an IPO, Mark. A couple of, for the first time here in about several weeks at least that we've been having
Poshmark is an
about.
online clothing reseller.
Okay. So this is what we just do now. We just IPO retail companies and we still buy them up with rampant speculation, Tyler.
No, I mean, that's the thing is when you look at Poshmark opened up 97.50, 132% above its IPO price. Petco opened up at 26, 44% above its IPO price. I mean, this is the thing about this market right now that you go to the major indexes, it does not reflect what is happening in the rampant speculation everywhere. And once again, these people that are buying pre-market, hey, until it stops working, you're going to do it, right? You ran up Airbnb, made a ton of money. You ran up DoorDash, make a ton of money. You're running up you run up what was the games, motorsports games yesterday, make a ton of money getting out, give it to the retail bag holder, let them gamble. They're going to continue to do that until they get slapped in the face. So IPOs are going to continue. It makes it impossible. The days of the Palantir, way back 3 months ago, remember when Palantir came out? You didn't have this occurring. Something happened after the election that made everybody let's just do this, let's ramp it. But you're not getting those initial prices where you can make at least an educated guess. You're getting ridiculously elevated prices that you're just gambling with IPOs that have been released after the election. And they're going to continue to run up price until one of them gets slapped down and it doesn't work. So unfortunately, IPOs are a hard place to play right now.
And I don't know who out there needs to hear this, but IPOs don't always just go up, Tyler. They don't. In fact, they can over the course of my career.
Tim, blasphemy, buddy.
I don't know. 2021 may just not accept me if I have to throw cold water on all these, parties here, Emily. I'm not sure, but they don't always just go straight up. Ty, I've seen it for far too long.
Well, what is nice is we get more trading products. I love IPOs. Look, they eventually list the options. You have that many more ticker symbols to play with. Bring them on. I mean, more trading opportunities is a good thing. So, I mean, traders should celebrate good companies. I don't know if these are good companies, but companies coming to IPO that are going to have liquid stock prices and good trends. I mean, I'm all for it.
I'm with you. Can we at least wait to get some data? Like a moving average to show up on a chart, or maybe one earnings report, or for the options to get liquid.
We live in a day where Bitcoin, it moves 4,000 points a day. That's its ATR. Look, this is the new normal, buddy.
All right. By the way, last one, and then I've got some upgrade downgrades. Then we're going to look at some charts that have run pretty good in the last month that we're going to have a conversation about profit taking, a couple more things we're going to do here in the show. Having a lot of fun here today, by the way. If you've not done it yet, give me a thumbs up on the show. Let's get the analytics up. Always love the conversation in the chat. You guys keep each other engaged, a lot of positivity, talking markets, really, really cool. Tesla had a negative news headline here today, and the stock did nothing. Mark, they actually talked to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to recall 158,000 vehicles to potentially defective touchscreens, and the stock didn't budge one bit. So who cares, right?
I mean, not to be glib, but like we had the Capitol riots last week and the market went down hardly anything, intraday pullback, right? We had a lot of contested election. This market has left any semblance of fear. There's zero fear. Margin abuse is at all-time highs. The call put ratio is at multi-year lows. The greed out there, I mean, go to your stock twist, go to a message board. It is everything's going to the moon. There's nothing to fear. I don't know what will eventually cause fear in this market, but it's not going to be anything in reality, most likely. Fear will be caused when like people start losing money and when the money isn't free in their head. But these headlines, because once again, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like normally a 138,000 car recall would be like, oh, maybe that's going to affect profit.
Maybe we at least need to take a day.
People, I mean, seriously,
right?
Companies will sell stock. I mean, how many times has Tesla sold stock this year?
Yeah.
Market doesn't care. They don't care about dilution because there's no fear. Everything just goes to the moon. And that disconnect from reality eventually comes home to roost.
Mm-hmm.
But man, your guess is as good as mine as any whether that happens anytime soon.
Sure. And the next thing I want to do here is take a look at some of the upgrade downgrades we have in the market right now and actually get the coach's take to hear if you agree or disagree. We're going to play that old agree or disagree game. We're going to start with Chevron, CVX, and HSBC upgraded Chevron to a buy from hold. I'll just throw it to one of you guys on each of these companies. I got a bunch of them. So Tyler, agree or disagree?
Agree. I mean, rising crude oil, rising energy stocks, it forces the analyst's hand. You got to feel like a bozo if the sector you follow or the stock you follow just keeps marching higher week after week and you do nothing. I think it is a byproduct of the bullishness we're seeing. I think it's forcing their hands. If not now, what are you going to do with it when it's 105 or 110 or 115? I think you got to get on board.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anybody got an alternative take on any of these? Go ahead and pop in, but I agree with Tyler as well. Yep. Next one for Emily. I'm going to pitch this one to you, Emily. Disney.
Hey, real quick. You said anybody pop in. It was actually asked in the chat, CVX. So we did do the upgrade downgrade. Someone said, is this an entry today? So I do want to throw that out there because that was asked in the chat a little bit earlier and we're doing the upgrade downgrade. Do you think there's a entry today on CVX?
You're up 2.5% at 1:30 Eastern time with 2.5 hours in the market while JPal's talking crude oil is bullish. You probably got to catch that next breakout here.
It's hard because I think we'll all agree that it's not a classical great entry, right? Whenever you run fast into resistance, it's not an ideal entry. This is why, like on these fast runs, I usually sell naked puts so that if it just happens to run really, really fast, hey, at least I made some money along the way.
Yeah,
but
and it's already gone past its daily ATR, and we've got earnings coming up too. I don't know how far that earnings is too, but we've got earnings coming up as well. So I don't know.
I think it is critical for all of us to remember in these frothy markets to do a double down on our rules, right? It's easy to make money in so many different ways right now and make money, right? But we can't like separate from our rules because of how easy it is, right? Waiting for good quality setups will make you money a year ago, today, and a year from now, and 10 years from now. Mm-hmm. If you happen to miss something, you miss it, right? But I think waiting for good technical setups, man, that's just tried and true butter that will always make you money, So Just my 2 cents on
I
it.
agree. And I love the logic. I think there's some wisdom there. And I think what you said to start with is what I would most want to reiterate here. It's not your classic entry, Tyler. It's not a textbook entry. It's not something you'd take a picture of, put it in a textbook, right?
Yeah, this would be a pass for me personally.
Yeah, I agree. I just thought it was something that, since you did bring it up and it was in the chat, I thought it'd be a nice, easy way to address that.
Now, by the way, on the other side of that, I wouldn't short this stock right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't short it.
I would not bet against the current momentum and the trend and the
Let
healthiness
it
in crude.
cook.
Yeah, it
Just
would
let
be
it cook.
let it cook kind of
Yep.
situation. All right, Emily, you are next. Disney. Disney got its price target raised by Citigroup to 205 from 175. Do you agree with the price target increase on Citi or for Disney?
From 175 to 205, and it's currently
Mm-hmm.
sitting at 175. I can agree with that, especially now that we are back to this whole reopening theme and we've got the vaccine out, so more people will feel more comfortable going out and getting back to the parks and whatnot. So I would agree with that upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Disney's just been inching up, like literally since when? Since October, since that breakout back in November.
Whatever. Yeah.
How much
So-
of a percentage gain would 205 be from 175 here? $30 on 175, like 18%, something like that.
Yeah.
18% for the year would be an amazing year for Disney, Tyler, right?
Mhm.
So I got no problem with the 205 price target. I think it just comes down to timeline. And obviously, I mean, if you're bullish on something that's already at the current price, these analysts got to play catch up. So I get it. I don't disagree either, Emily. Yeah. Next one.
Hang on, I want to add my 2 cents in here too, Tim.
Okay.
About
Cody.
a year ago,
Okay.
whenever I had to pause because I want to make sure I say this correctly. About a year ago, when we were having the debate on their parks and the revenue from the parks versus Disney Plus, Disney has shown a shift while they have their main California park closed. They've seen a shift in most of their revenue coming from that Disney Plus model, and I do think that their break into that space has allowed them to continue to show profit even with their major park closed. So my thought behind this entire stock is, with them showing an increase in their Disney Plus product and then putting out movies direct to consumer versus the old model of going to movie theaters, I see this model as a profitable model long term. And this is still being done right now with their major profit station that was their park in California still being closed. So I do agree with the overall 205, because what happens when they reopen that park? Plus, they've already added infrastructure to Disney Plus. This is more of a fundamental type argument than it is a technical argument. But as a fundamentals of a company, if their major
No, that's not what that was.
performer is
What
not,
that was is the contender wants to take down the champ. And so he's trying to get his analysis in there to show Mark that he's ready to go after the champ here next week. He's like,
Isn't
all right,
that what
I've
I
got to
said?"
showcase myself. I want to let Mark know that I'm ready to take on Emily and see what
I was
how the chips may fall
I
here.
was actually kind of going at you, Tim, because a year ago you told me that their Disney Plus model was not going to show as much profit as their parks.
Oh, well
Uh-huh,
then.
uh-huh.
Oh no,
Uh-huh.
he didn't.
He went there.
Well, but we've also had conversations about Disney for 12 months in a row where we have updated analysis on that. So
That's also
cherry
true.
picking one moment when something was or wasn't said, that's not going to win you the argument, in my opinion. But I'm not the decider.
But
That
as
would be
traders,
Mark.
we're the greatest flip floppers, right?
We have to be.
That's the thing. We have to be.
Your job is to flip flop, literally. I mean, Tyler flip flopped on Zoom this week, went from bearish to bullish. That is your job as a trader. New information, new data, new chart, new price action. You've got to change the way that you're approaching something, right?
Yeah, what was that deal with Zoom? We were all looking for that breakdown and it did not happen. I
Just
got
gotta-
triggered. Yeah, it's
I'll support.
didn't
I'll
happen.
support. Back on the game though here. Let's bring Mark in on the next one. Actually, we'll go back to Tyler, then Mark. And Mark, I'm going to ask you about Penn National Gaming to give you a heads up. Let's go to Chipotle, Tyler. I'm going to throw this one at you. The famous burrito company caught an upgrade to outperform from sector perform. It's been a juggernaut for years, Tyler. Would you have this as one of the better companies in this sector, in this space?
Sure. I mean, yes, of course. But I think that the price has demanded that for the last couple of years, right? I mean, I don't know if I'm using the chart. I don't know why you make it outperform now when it hasn't. I would be like, dude, look at the chart. All you got to do is look at a ratio of the sector versus the stock. This stock's been beating the sector forever. So I could have told you it was outperformed. These guys should call me. You tell them to call me next time. I'll tell them.
I'll tell them as well, no doubt about it. And then, Marky, this was an interesting one on Penn today, and it's one of those rare ones where you have one firm do one thing, another firm do an opposite thing on the same company. Truist raised the price target on Penn to 120 from 85 bucks, playing the momentum. Where Loop, the analyst firm, downgraded Penn to a sell from a hold. So now this one's a different question for you. Do you agree with the upgraded price target, believing in momentum, or do you agree with this Loop group that is saying just sell the thing?
We're in a crazy market. Chart's constructive. You could high base here, a couple days, breakout. Like, from a trading point of view, the old man in me on valuation is like, you do realize all of this is insane from any historical measure at all. Guess what? That side usually loses in recent years. So I get it. Like, I would not buy and hold here in any stretch of the imagination. But sports betting is, what, this company was all the way back down at what, $80 just 6 sessions ago.
Mm-hmm.
You catch a couple headlines and boom. And sports betting has headlines all the time, right? All the time. Algos feed off the headlines, can send it higher. I don't know, man. This thing has left the station a while ago for me. So I understand both.
So
I wish analysts wouldn't base it on momentum though, right? Like, because you can come up with some pretty absurd price targets based on any historical valuation measure.
I've got one more for each of you. A quick one on all these. Emily, going to bring you back in here next. Google got an upgraded price target by Bank of America to $2,150 from $2,000. Communication services have been stuck in the mud. These big, large tech leadership in the NASDAQ, Tyler, they've not performed in these rallies. Google's not really done much here in a couple of months. Emily, would you increase Google's price target here? Probably the long-term charts are healthy. It's a great company. We know those things, but it's also kind of stuck. So what do you think here?
It's at 21,000. I'm 2,100 right now, and they're upgrading it to 22.
No, they were 2,000, and they're going to 2,150. So they already had a bullish target on this. They're calling their shot here.
How about it gets to 2,000 first, then we upgrade it? So I would not agree with it. Let it get to 2,000 first, then we can talk about upgrading. It's been stuck in a range for weeks.
And that's almost a 20% move from here. You already got a 20% upward call on a big company like this, Mark, $1 trillion company, one of the biggest in the world. And you need a 30% call on this, somehow you needed that extra 10% bullishness. The fervor is pretty crazy when you start looking at just little detail.
Give me a breakout at 1845 first, then we can even start the conversation, and then let it get to 2,000, then we can really have the discussion.
And here's one for Mark. We'll go Tyler first. Tyler, Argus upgraded General Motors to a buy from a hold. General Motors, Ford, a lot of these companies have been looking really healthy lately. Do you agree with the upgrade to buy on GM?
Yeah. I mean, look, what has this done? It's tripled. Honestly, I feel like a lot of these upgrades, downgrades are just like ego protection, right? Stupidity insurance. It's like, all right, stock went up 400%. Guess I got to do something. Been looking like a bozo. So yeah, let's upgrade this bad boy. Look, GM, you look at a long-term chart. This is no joke. This is a 10-year high. Let's go further back. You got to go back to 2004. I mean, so how many math whiz? Can I get an assist here? 2004, 2021, carry the 2.
17 years.
17-year high. I mean, come on. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Now, I know this had like reverse splits and some weird nonsense back in the day, but chart looks fantastic. I like it. Upgrade, sure.
Mark, last one, Intel. Intel dumps the CEO one day. They get upgraded the next day. Morgan Stanley upgraded Intel to overweight from equal weight. They like their presence now, bringing that VMW CEO in to run Intel. Looks like it's getting a little juice on the street here. Mark, do you agree or do you disagree?
Well, I mean, listen, once again, would not chase Intel at these prices. I mean, I know semiconductors are hot. Boy, this company has not been favored though. And until they can speed up their production of some of their advanced chips, which they're falling behind on, until you see evidence of that, man, that seems like a very hopeful upgrade. So if you get a dip down below at any point, I get that from a trade point of view, but man, that's just like, I guess he can't do any worse. So let's, upgrade, so, yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, if now with that, like pessimism aside, semis have been hot, Intel's lagged, right? Semis have been really hot and Intel's lagged. If you get a trading setup from a trading point of view, could be a good one.
Yeah, I think so as well. From a trading perspective, I do agree with that. And guys, that's it for upgrade downgrade here. There's the last conversation I want to have about just a couple of companies is just the nature of the frothy nature of this market, consistent trends. I'm still putting new trades on, by the way. I'm not looking to just unload everything, but you run into a very good problem sometimes, Tyler, where you've got profits on some short-term trades, right? And we've had healthy price appreciation in small caps in different areas. Financials have run. We've looked at many of the companies just in the last little bit of stocks that have had really good performances. So I wanted to talk a little bit just about the mindset behind profit taking. Individual decisions on what to do with an individual company for anybody out there, those are your choice as the trader. You're the one in charge of that. But I think as veterans, we can kind of provide some insight and some thoughts and thought processes to this conversation and create some value for everybody out there. So Tyler, why don't we just start with like Peloton in general or small caps in general? I know this was one that you've been looking at. How do you teach the thinking behind when and how to take a profit?
Well, I think it comes down to two things. I mean, the first is what is the pattern? And the second is what is the strategy you're using? So you're going to have techniques that are dependent on what strategy you're using, right? So if you use naked puts, the discussion on when to take profits is different than if you buy a call option or do some kind of spread, right? So that's number one. And that's like a strategy specific discussion. But the second more all-encompassing thing is what is the chart pattern and what is the best practice for when to take profits on that particular chart pattern. So in the case of Peloton, this is one that was brought up in Trade Masters last week. And it was a bull retracement pattern. So when we teach this bull retracement pattern at Tackle Trading, we have a couple of suggestions on how to project targets. And one of the obvious ones is to use the previous pivot high. So the idea with an uptrend is, look, if you are at support and the trend continues, at a minimum, you should go back up to the prior pivot and really you exceed it if the trend's going to continue. So when it comes to Peloton, I think one of my targets, Tim, would have been the prior peak around 167, which we are hitting right now, right? And so I could see somebody, if they bought the pullback around 146, 147, whatever, the thing's up $20, you're at an old pivot high. This would be an area that I would say is a target. And then the question is, what do you do when you hit your target? Well, you could take profits, you could take partial profits, you could move the stop up. I like techniques that give me the opportunity to maximize gains. And if you're always taking full profit right when you hit the target, you really aren't able to maximize the profit, especially in the market like this where things just keep running and running and running. One of the easiest ways to make sure you keep profiting is don't sell your entire position, when you hit an initial target. So so Tim, in this case, taking partial profits, maybe putting a tight stop, maybe at today's low, candle low is a popular technique. Those would be the few of the things that I'd bring up.
And Peloton's a good example because it was a recent play, that you were watching for on the retracement. Now we are up at T1, and then that conversation has to happen about what you do with it next. I've also got a bunch of other examples from over the last month from some of our option reports. And, some of these might be a little more difficult conversation here. Look at Freeport Mac. I mean, I would venture to guess most people in the tackle trading community have been fruitful with this company. We've had it on the report how many times on the retracements or the pullbacks or the breakouts or whatever it might be. And it's obviously been very, very bullish. And even today, after a 5-bar consolidation near the 9, it's just running again. So it's not showed that it's gonna slow down, but it's also probably built some good profit behind it. I'm gonna pitch this one to Coach Mark. You got earnings coming up in a couple weeks. You might have investors that just want to hold it because they believe in the copper gold combo of this. You might have traders that are just in on momentum. I mean, Mark, how do you even approach a stock like this that has just gone gangbuster?
Listen, for someone that's loved FCX, I haven't maximized the run as much as I have. I've made money along the way. Because I've had shares called away. I sell naked puts; they never get put to me. So it's one of those things. I try not to get ticker symbol obsessed, right?
Mhm.
FCX has treated me really good this year. Over the last year, really good. It's been one of those stocks that really good. Have I pinpointed, played it perfect every step away? No. But, it's one of those things. I sold a naked put down at the old breakout level for February a couple days ago. Eventually I'll get put the stock. But if I was in it already, it's hard because I'm so conservative, right? Now, I don't take profit on a breakout. I don't do that. I'd probably give the 9 a chance to work here. The market's crazy. And you definitely want to maximize things. You can always start selling calls against it, but it's probably on a breakout. Not that hasn't been a maximizing strategy over the last 9 months. So, it's a hot area of the market, right? There's probably room to run long term. If I was in options or something like that, I'd take profit.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was in straight stock, when's the last time it broke the 20-day moving average?
I might use some of the profit and just buy a long-term put if I'm that concerned, Tyler. If it truly is a longer-term play and I have equity and I'm worried about it, there's no way you don't have the profit, at least in paper, to do
these are
something
good
to hedge,
problems to have, right?
or a partial profit. Ty, anything to add to this one? Because this one could be a situation. Yeah.
Yeah, if you own stock, you can also swap it out for a call option too. Stock replacement strategy. So, you could ring the register on some of the profits and replace it with a longer term call option. I think there's a lot of different things you can do here. And this is something you should compile over time with your strategy playbook is you should, as you learn a new technique, like take partial profits, modify the option you own, sell cover calls, buy protective puts. Dude, I would just continue to compile these ideas and master them. And then when you're in this situation next time, the pros and cons of each adjustment technique, and you can make a more informed decision.
One last one here, unless you guys got some other examples. I got a bunch, but I'm just going to go one per coach. Last one is Bank of America. And Emily, I know your bias on this company. So I'm looking at you, Queen, here. It's obviously a great cover call stock. It is a great stock if you're looking for ownership. I can understand an investment thesis behind a company and write calls all the time against it. It's got earnings coming up and it's had a really, really good run. It was also on our 12/16 option report, which is about a month ago. That month of breakout and momentum in this position trade, we've gone from $29 to $34, a really good move. Emily, how do you handle a situation like this that's really strong, but also one that you love, and you got an earnings coming up shortly?
Well, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, this was up for discussion. And I think we talked about that breakout at, what is it, like 29 and a half. And I talked about perhaps even uncovering it and just not even have a cover call and just let the shares run so I can maximize my profit, which is what I did. And this is where it starts to get like, okay, what do I do? I've got earnings coming up. I know the behavior of Bank of America. It's not something that gaps all the time. So I'm not even going to consider buying a put option on this. I might just let it be. When stocks run up this fast, it really does create that what do I do type scenario. And when you've gotten profits like this, maybe I might go out and do, sell a call option further out, not a 10 delta, maybe look for a 25 delta, 30 delta, see if I can get some premium there just to bring in some cash flow. But with earnings coming up and the financials, we've seen what financials are doing now that we have earnings coming up with BlackRock and everything else. I might just let this thing just run. I've already had profits in it. It's a long-term investment. Even if it comes down a little bit, I'm not going to be that concerned about it. So I'll just take my chance and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Many scenarios, obviously, double this against JP Morgan. I'll give you guys an example, one that I would approach differently. I love JP Morgan, don't get me wrong, but I got into this one as a trade where I believe, Emily, with Bank of America, you're thinking more of like an investment, right? That's a stock that you've held and owned for a long time.
Right.
Because I approached JPM as a trade, and I made a very similar entry to the JPM thing, and financials all did the same thing. I just knocked this one down. Yeah. I mean, when you're getting this close to earnings, and because we have rules around earnings, right, Tyler, about short-term trading. And if your trading plan was to trade it, you should trade it. You should use your trading rules. Don't turn something into something it wasn't designed to do. If your premise and plan was investing, then you should have approached it with a different plan to begin with. I think it's an important lesson for anybody out there. Like JPM, I would just knock the profit down, whether it was today, yesterday, tomorrow, whatever it might be. But you got to be, I think, is it tomorrow earnings, by the way? Or is it Tuesday? Can't remember now, because I already took this one off.
15th,
Yes, tomorrow.
Pre-market.
Yeah.
So you
So
got to
here's
be
your
on
advice.
that.
You got to make a decision today. Yeah.
So for me, it was a trade. I took it off earlier in the week and just like, okay, done. Right. And sometimes that's just a reminder of your trading plan when you're executing these decisions, I think can really help. It's a lot easier for me if I make the decision up front. That way in the moment, I don't get swept up into the emotion about what you do. What's the old phrase? Plan your trade, trade your plan.
Trade your plan.
Yep, that's right. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Mark, anything that we missed? Anything else you want to bring up?
Listen, so much about today and this time period reminds me of 2017. In 2017, things were so good. And the biggest problems we had was how to take profit, right? How to take profit. I mean, these easy trading environments where things go well, it is a true exercise in discipline and patience. You're making money. And let's not forget, though, that in January of 2018, it felt even easier. And then we had a big correction that freaked people out, like literally where mothers were calling sons, sons were calling mothers, being like, is this 2008, 2009 all over again? Corrections can happen swiftly. You get massive gains. Nothing wrong taking profits, looking for the next trade setup.
I agree. Tyler, any final thoughts for the team out there? Any topic, by the way, that's on your mind?
No, I mean, enjoy it while it lasts. I think, honestly, I'm just, it's Groundhog's Day every day right now with this market. So, I'm finding myself, I lack wisdom. Look, I've enjoyed this. The market's great. Let's just sing Kumbaya and call it a day, Tim.
You just made me think of Groundhog's Day now. What a glorious movie. Bill Murray is one of the greatest of all time. No doubt about it. Yeah, it does feel that way a little bit until it doesn't, right? Like Mark's talking about, that things can happen pretty quickly. So my last thought for everybody out there is very simple. Just continue to approach markets with the least amount of emotion you can, the most amount of logic that you can. Try to remove bad thought patterns and behavior. Focus on positives. If what is working, continue to execute. And if something is not working, take a hard look and examine it and see what you can do to improve it. As every individual trader out there, we're all in our own kind of journey and experience and whatnot. And as a community, we can move forward a step at a time and learn from each other. So I appreciate all the coaches' insights today. I thought it was excellent, and I appreciate that on a daily basis. And if you're out there and you've not done it yet, subscribe, click the bell, give me a thumbs up, and come back and join us every day. Tomorrow, we got Coach Breakout Frank with his beautiful charts. We got Coach Matt coming back as well. Should be a fun Friday show as always. Tonight, we've got Cash Flow Club for Pro members. Mark, who's hosting tonight?
Gino Poor is hosting tonight.
The great, the powerful Coach Gino Poor on the Cash Flow Club tonight. If you're a pro member, make sure you attend. That'll be 8:30 p.m. Eastern. It's on the events page over at Tackle Trading. And if you're not yet a pro, Very simple. There is a link in every YouTube video with a 15-day trial to our pro membership. Come and be a part of what we're doing at Tackle Trading and all the wonderful classes, reports, shows. Just go join the 15-day trial. It literally is a no risk trial to go and see what it's all about. We know you're going to love it. Marky, anything last there? Good.
Listen, this market is a textbook right now in stock picking, in trade setups. I mean, what's the broad markets done the last week? Not a lot. Really not a lot. What have finance done? What has oil done in some of the trade setups? What have so many different areas done? Like the buy and hold investors, they can get treated well. Traders can kill it in markets like this and learn those trading skills. Come sign up for a 15-day free trial at Tackle Trading. Get those trading skills down. And I like your chances of outperforming the S&P the rest of your life.
Love it. All right, guys, we're out for today. Everybody have a wonderful, safe day, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time.